I went from a broke student who was scared to buy olive oil because it was too expensive to building a six-figure net worth in my 20s. And I didn't do it by working harder. I did it by changing my identity from someone who spends money to someone who owns assets. So today, I'm breaking down the exact framework I used to go from being scared of the price of groceries to building a life of total options. So if you want to be rich in the real sense, meaning that you don't care about luxury designer items, but you do care about having freedom and actual wealth, then this video is for you. So let's start with something that might sound obvious, but most people completely overlook. The biggest difference between people who build wealth and people who don't is understanding how money works. And I know that sounds simple, but think about it. Most people spend years learning their profession. You go to school, you get a degree, you develop skills in your career, but almost no one spends time learning about money. We don't learn about investing. We don't learn about taxes. We don't learn how businesses create leverage or how compound interest actually works. And because of that, people end up working really hard, earning good money, but still feeling broke. Because the thing is, income and wealth are not the same thing. You can have a high income and still be broke if you don't understand how money works. I know people who earn six figures, but live paycheck to paycheck because they've never learned how to actually use it to build wealth. They're spending everything that they earn. And on the flip side, I know people who earn way less, but are building serious wealth because they understand how it works, how to use money as leverage. And they're not just relying on their salary. So financial literacy is the foundation of everything else. And I don't mean you need to become a finance expert or read boring textbooks about economics. I mean learning the basics that actually matter. So what you want to do is start building financial literacy habits. And the practical tip here is to spend just 20 minutes a week learning about money. That's all you need, 20 minutes. More if you can, but the minimum is 20 minutes. Watch a YouTube video about investing, read an article about how to decrease your tax burden, listen to a podcast about building wealth. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. It just has to be consistent. The one thing that has made the biggest difference for my net worth was buying my home at 25, which skyrocketed in value after. But what's important to note is that me and my partner were on super average salaries when we bought our first home. We were both on our first job after school. We were not high earners whatsoever. We were pretty average, and I would even say at the lower end of the spectrum. So how was I able to buy a home at that age, at 25 years old? The answer is through budgeting. And I know that that sounds boring and restrictive, but I need you to stay with me because this is different. The biggest wealth killer that no one talks about, honestly, is consumption. Most people don't stay broke because they don't earn enough. They stay broke because their lifestyle spending grows with their income. And we call this lifestyle creep. And honestly, it is everywhere. You get a raise, so you upgrade your apartment. You get a bonus, so you buy a nicer car. Suddenly you're eating out more, buying nicer clothes, going on more expensive trips. And there's nothing wrong with enjoying your money. I want you to enjoy your money. But if your spending is growing as fast as your income, then you're never actually building wealth. You're just staying on the same treadmill, except now it's a nicer looking treadmill. So looking rich is about consumption, but being wealthy is about ownership. And the people who actually are building wealth, they are just consistently putting money into assets, while other people are spending things that don't really build wealth. If you're earning money but spending all of it, you have nothing left to invest or build wealth with. So in order to have enough to enjoy your life and build wealth, you need to track where your money is going, aka budget. Now, I don't mean budgeting in a restrictive way, where I'm tracking every single dollar and depriving myself of buying coffee outside. I didn't want to do that back then, and I don't want to do it now. What I practice is values-based budgeting, which is all about being intentional. And here's exactly how to do the same. So what you need to do is a spending audit. Look at the last 3 months of your spending and break it down into 3 categories. First, wealth building. This is money that is going towards investing, savings goals, building a business, learning skills that will increase your income. Second is life essentials, rent, groceries, insurance, things that you actually need to live. And third is pure consumption. So eating out, shopping, entertainment, things that feel good in the moment but don't necessarily build your future. Now for that third category, I want you to go through each purchase and ask yourself, does this purchase still bring me value? So if I think about this now, weeks after I've made the purchase, does it still bring a smile to my face? Did it improve my life? Am I still using it happily? For example, if it's a piece of clothing, I won't just ask, do I still wear this? But I will ask, does it still make me feel confident when I put it on? Or or has it just become another piece in my closet? If the former, then it's a value. That's something I should be spending money on, and I could probably spend even more on it because it genuinely adds to my life. But if it's a no, if I bought it and forgot about it, or the experience that I purchased is barely something to look back on, then it was probably an impulse buy, and I'm going to be super critical in the future if I want to buy something like it again. So I'm going to try to aggressively cut it. This method allowed me to save enough money for a down payment at 25, and it wasn't because I was cutting everything, because that's not sustainable. I was only cutting the stuff that didn't actually increase my quality of life, and that freed up the money that I needed to put towards the first category, which is wealth building. If 90% of your money is going to consumption and only 10% is going to the wealth building category, then you're not going to become wealthy. You're going to stay broke while looking like you're doing well. So get clear on where your money is going and start shifting more of it towards building wealth instead of just consuming. Now, if you want to learn my entire system for values-based budgeting, I actually do have a resource in which I teach the full system, and I will add the link in the description so you can check it out. Okay, this next point is huge, and it's something that completely changed how I think about money. Employees earn money once. Owners earn money repeatedly. It means that if you're working a job, you trade your time for money. You work 40 hours a week, you get paid for those 40 hours, and that's it. So if you stop working, the money stops coming in. But if you're owning assets, whether that's stocks, a business, something you can rent out, anything, those assets can make money for you even if you're not actively working. And that's the difference between earning income and building wealth. So real wealth comes from owning things that generate return over time. And I think a lot of people hear this and think, okay, but I'm not a business owner, I don't have any assets. The thing is that you can start owning assets today, even if you're just starting out. And the easiest way to start is stocks and ETFs. So an ETF is basically a basket with many stocks in it. So you would be buying tiny pieces of companies like Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, Coca-Cola. And when those companies are making money and growing, your money grows too because you own a piece of them. So you benefit from that growth. This is something that you can literally start doing from $10. And I have a whole video about how to get started. So I will link that in the description. But beyond investing, you can also build ownership through strategically increasing your income, because saving and investing matter, but there's also a limit to how much you can save to invest. If you're earning $3,000 a month, you can only cut so much from your budget before living on nothing. So eventually the focus has to shift to increasing your earning power. And there are a few strategic ways of doing this. The first way is starting a business or a side hustle. And this doesn't mean quitting your job and going all in on some massive business idea. This can be something simpler than that, like a tutoring service, an e-commerce store, a digital product, anything where you're building something that can generate income beyond just your hourly labor. And think beyond the typical examples, right? Because I know people who are literally making money by buying vending machines. I know people who rent out camera equipment. The point is that ownership doesn't have to be complicated or require massive amounts of money. There are smaller ways to start. Now, the second way of doing this is building skills that pay. Because a lot of people here start a business and they think, I don't have any skills to monetize. And what I have to say about this is, one, it's probably not true. Most people just haven't thought about what they know that other people would pay for. Secondly, if you truly do not have any sellable skills yet, then invest in knowledge. I wasn't a money expert by education, but I decided I'm going to learn everything there is about this topic, and I invested in programs to do that. You could learn a high income skill like copywriting, design, marketing, video editing, consulting, and then freelance or offer those services as a product or do it on the side. And doing this basically means that you're investing in yourself as the asset. Now, the third way of increasing your earning power is through career leverage. This means negotiating your salary, specializing in high value skills, or strategically switching jobs. A lot of people stay in the same job for years without ever negotiating a raise, and they end up leaving so much money on the table. Well, switching jobs is often the fastest way to increase your salary, especially in your 20s and 30s. Now, I'm not saying that you need to do all of these things at the same time. The key is shifting from only relying on your labor to also owning things that make money. So start with looking into owning at least one asset class. If you're not investing yet, start with monthly investing in ETFs, even if it's just $50 or $100 a month. If you're already investing, pick one way to increase your income, start a side business, learn a high income skill, scale, negotiate your salary, pick one. Doesn't have to be huge, doesn't have to replace your job, but having multiple income streams gives you options, and that's really what wealth building is about. All right, so one more important point that we need to talk about is your environment, because your environment shapes your financial behavior more than you probably realize. This includes your friends, the cultural norms around you, and especially social media. If your environment is constantly normalizing consumption, it's going to be really hard to build wealth. For example, if all your friends are going out every weekend, buying new clothes constantly, upgrading their lifestyle every time they get a raise, then that's going to influence you. If your social media feed is full of people flexing designer bags and luxury vacations, that's going to make you feel like you need to do the same to be successful. And there's this concept that I want to introduce to you, which is luxury creep versus quality of life. Luxury creep is when your lifestyle slowly expands because consumption is normalized around you. You start spending more just because everyone else is, not because it actually improves your life. Now, quality of life is different. That's where you spend intentionally on things that genuinely make your life better while still building wealth. And the difference between these two things is intention. So here's what I want you to do. Do a financial influence audit. Look at your social media feed and ask yourself, does this normalize spending or does it normalize building wealth? Are you following accounts that make you feel like you need to buy more stuff? Or are you following accounts that teach you about investing, net worth, entrepreneurship, financial independence? Because what you consume mentally affects what you do financially. If you're constantly seeing people spending money, you're going to want to spend money. But if you're seeing people talk about their investment portfolio, that's going to inspire you to do the same. So do a feed cleanse and follow accounts that make you feel like you need to consume more. And instead, follow accounts that talk about all of these topics that we just mentioned. I've linked our socials in the description if you don't know who to start following. The point is, curate an environment that supports the person that you're trying to become and not the person that the algorithm is pushing you to be. Okay, so let's bring all of this together into a simple action plan. First, you're going to learn how money actually works by spending 20 minutes a week learning about money, investing, and how wealth is built. Second, you'll do a spending audit using values-based budgeting, cut the consumption that doesn't bring joy, and shift that money towards wealth building instead. Third, you're going to focus on owning assets instead of relying only on income. So you will look into investing in stocks or ETFs, building a side business, learning high income skills, or negotiating your salary. And fourth, you'll do a feed cleanse to unfollow accounts that normalize consumption. That's the whole framework. It's not complicated. It's not about getting lucky or having a high income. It's about understanding how money works, making intentional choices, and building wealth consistently over time. If investing is where you want to start and you want to know the step-by-step on how to do it in a simple way, then this video walks you through exactly what beginners need to know, which ETFs to buy, how to pick a platform, and all of the good stuff. And if this video was helpful, I'd love it if you liked it and subscribed, because I'm going to keep breaking down money and investing in a way that actually makes sense.